Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes. Carl Jung. A new chapter. That's really a new book. When you cross into your 60s, something subtle yet profound changes inside you. It's not just about wrinkles, silver hair, or a slower morning stretch. It's about the inner weather, the way you see the world and yourself in it. In your younger years, love was often about possibility. We dreamed of what could be. We told ourselves he might change. We excused rough edges, thinking they would soften over time. We bent ourselves into shapes that weren't comfortable, just to fit inside someone else's frame. But after 60, the math changes. Time is more precious, energy more limited, and every ounce of peace becomes non-negotiable. You realize that you simply can't afford to spend your golden years in a relationship that chips away at your spirit. And for many of us, this realization doesn't come out of nowhere. It comes after walking through fire. A divorce that left you rebuilding from scratch, widowhood that hollowed out the center of your life, or years of giving far more than you ever received. Now, the goal isn't just companionship, it's sovereignty. It's finding a love that honors the woman you've become, not one that tries to shrink you back into who you used to be. Carl Jung once said, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." That's the energy of dating after 60. You are not here to relive old heartbreaks. You are here to write a new story. One that doesn't erase your past, but uses it as wisdom to guard your future. Why these boundaries matter. Boundaries at this stage of life aren't just dating tips. They're lines of protection between your peace and your pain. You may have spent decades learning lessons the hard way. The cost of silence, the price of giving too much, the exhaustion of trying to be both partner and caretaker to a grown man. And if you've ever sat up at night wondering, am I overreacting? Am I being too sensitive? And then you already know how easy it is to start doubting yourself when you care deeply. But here's the truth. After 60, you've earned the right to trust your instincts without apology. You've earned the right to say no quickly and walk away gracefully when you see the first signs of trouble. Deal breaker number 1. Never accept disrespect disguised as honesty. One of the most subtle and dangerous forms of emotional erosion in senior dating is disrespect wrapped up in charm, humor, or the false banner of just being honest. It often starts so small you almost miss it. You look great for your age. You're lovely, even if you're not exactly petite. You ramble a little, but it's cute. On paper, they sound harmless, but in your bones you feel the sting. And over time, those little jabs don't just hurt your feelings, they quietly shrink your sense of self. The story of Helen. Helen was in my walking group. She had a sharp mind, a quick laugh, and a way of making you feel smarter just by talking to her. After losing her husband, she finally felt ready to date again. She met a man in her book club. Well-read, witty, attentive. At first, he seemed like a gift from the universe. But then the compliments started to bend. You'd be perfect if you were a little more active. You have such a pretty face. You should wear makeup more often. Each remark came with a smile. Helen laughed them off. But I noticed something. She started fixing her hair more often, speaking less at lunch, and fidgeting with her clothes. She wasn't brighter around him. She was dimmer. That's what disrespect disguised as honesty does. It doesn't storm in and demand control. It seeps in slowly, teaching you to expect less while pretending it's love. Why it's so dangerous after 60. When we're younger, we have more social cushioning, a busy work life, a larger circle of friends, maybe even kids still at home. But after 60, many women's worlds naturally grow smaller. This means one relationship can hold a much bigger emotional footprint. If that relationship is filled with subtle put-downs, the impact is amplified. It's not just about a bad comment. It's about shaping your entire emotional climate. Carl Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And who you truly are cannot flourish in soil that is salted with insults. even the playful kind. The difference between honesty and disrespect. Real honesty makes you feel safe even when it's uncomfortable. It comes from love, not from a need to feel superior. Honesty says, I think you're overextending yourself this week. Can I help you slow down? Disrespect says, you never know when to quit, do you? Honesty says, that dress looked more comfortable than flattering. Maybe save it for cozy nights in? Disrespect says, you shouldn't wear that in public at your age. The difference is in the intention and the impact. One builds you, the other chips away at you. How to stand your ground. 1. Name it in the moment. That comment didn't sit well with me is enough. You don't need to argue. Just draw the line. 2. Refuse to self-edit out of fear. If you notice you're speaking less, dressing differently, or hiding parts of yourself to avoid criticism, it's a sign this person isn't safe for you. 3. Measure actions over charm. Disrespect wrapped in flowers is still disrespect. 4. Remember your worth is non-negotiable. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely, Jung said. When you do, it becomes much harder for anyone else to make you feel less. Deal breaker number 2. Never accept financial exploitation or control. Where wisdom reigns, there is no conflict between thinking and feeling. Carl Jung. Love, trust, and the hidden strings of money. There's a saying that money changes everything. But in senior romance, it doesn't always come in with a dramatic shift. Sometimes it starts quietly, even tenderly, wrapped in the language of care. Let me take care of the bills, so you don't have to stress. I'm good with numbers. You can just let me handle it. Don't worry about the details. I've got you covered. On the surface, these offers can feel comforting, especially for women who've spent decades juggling finances, raising children, or even managing a household alone. But Carl Jung reminded us that the pendulum of the mind oscillates between sense and nonsense, not between right and wrong. Meaning, sometimes something that feels right can still slide into territory that's quietly harmful if we don't keep our awareness sharp. Because here's the truth. Love should never require you to surrender. Your financial clarity, your autonomy, or your access to what you've built over a lifetime. Why financial control can be so subtle. For women over 60, the risk is unique. Many in this stage of life have a lifetime's worth of savings, property, or investments, or are living on a fixed income from pensions, social security, or retirement accounts. A man who gains control over these resources doesn't need to shout, threaten, or even ask for money outright. All he has to do is gradually position himself as the financial expert in the relationship, the one you rely on for decisions, the one you defer to for big purchases, the one you stop questioning. At first, it may feel like partnership. Over time, it can become a leash. The story of Judith. Judith, 68, was a retired teacher who had been widowed for nearly a decade. She'd managed her finances responsibly, but numbers weren't her favorite thing. When she met Robert, a charming former banker, she felt relieved to have someone who knew about money. It started innocently. He helped her choose better insurance, reviewed her investments, and encouraged her to consolidate some accounts for simplicity. But 6 months in, Judith realized she no longer had direct access to her online banking. Robert had offered to set it up so she wouldn't have to deal with the logins. He kept track of their shared expenses, but never showed her the receipts. When she asked questions, he'd chuckle and say, "You're overthinking it, sweetheart. Just trust me." By the time she confided in her daughter, Robert had quietly transferred large sums into joint accounts and convinced Judith to sell her second property. This is how it happens, not with a demand, but with a steady erosion of access and oversight, always under the comforting disguise of help. The emotional side of financial exploitation. Money isn't just numbers. It's tied to security, independence, and dignity. For many women, especially after 60, it also represents a lifetime of hard work and sacrifice. When someone else takes control of that, they're not just holding your bank account, they're holding a piece of your freedom. And sometimes we allow it not because we're naive, but because we're tired. We think, finally, I can let someone else take this weight. But in doing so, we hand over the very keys that keep us free. Carl Jung wrote, "Every form of addiction is bad, no matter whether the narcotic be alcohol or morphine or idealism." In this case, the addiction can be the comfort of not having to deal with finances at all, and it can lull us into a dangerous passivity. Red flags to watch for. 1. Secrecy around accounts. If he avoids giving you details, changes passwords, or keeps financial documents out of reach, that's a clear warning. 2. Overmanaging shared expenses. It's one thing to split costs, another for him to insist all money flow through him. 3. Discouraging outside advice. If he reacts negatively when you consult a friend, family member, or professional, it's likely because he wants to control the narrative. 4. Fast-track decisions. Pressure to make large financial moves quickly. Selling property. Consolidating accounts, changing beneficiaries, is a serious danger sign. Building a boundary without building a wall. The goal isn't to become suspicious of every act of generosity. It's to ensure that generosity is balanced with transparency and respect. Practical safeguards. Keep your own accounts and know exactly what's in them. Never sign documents you haven't read in full. And preferably, have reviewed by a third party. Make sure at least one trusted friend or family member knows the state of your finances. Emotional safeguards. Check in with how you feel after financial conversations. If you consistently leave feeling confused, brushed off, or silly for asking, that's not love. That's control. Remember, accepting help doesn't mean giving up agency. Money as a mirror. Jung often spoke about projection, the way we see parts of ourselves reflected in others. In relationships, how a partner treats money often mirrors how they value you. If they handle it with respect, transparency, and fairness, it's likely they value you in the same way. If they use it to control, diminish, or isolate you, it's a reflection of their deeper intentions. The Roman philosopher Seneca put it plainly, "A gift consists not in what is done or given, but in the intention of the giver. If the intention is power, not partnership, then it's not a gift, it's a leash." The emotional freedom of financial clarity. When you keep your own financial footing, something beautiful happens. You can love without fear. You're not worried about what will happen if things go wrong, because you know you can stand on your own. And in a healthy relationship, a man won't resent that. He'll respect it. He won't need to be the provider to feel important. He'll see your independence as part of your beauty. Carl Jung believed that individuation, becoming the fullest version of yourself, was the central task of adulthood. Financial autonomy is part of that individuation. It's not about rejecting help. It's about ensuring that help doesn't come at the cost of yourself. Deal breaker number 3. Never accept isolation from your support network. The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. Carl Jung. The slow disappearance you don't see coming. Some relationships don't end with shouting or betrayal. They end quietly, not with a bang, but with the soft closing of a door you didn't realize had shut. And sometimes the danger isn't that you lose yourself all at once, but that you slowly lose the others who help you remember who you are. In senior romance, especially after 60, isolation often doesn't look like control at first. It looks like attention. It looks like someone wanting to spend every waking moment with you, calling you my whole world, or saying things like, "Why do you need anyone else when you have me? They don't understand you like I do. Let's just focus on us. The rest of the world can wait." Those words can sound romantic. They can even feel like safety, especially if you've been lonely for a long time. But slowly, they pull you away from the people who have been your anchors for years. Your friends, your family, your community. The story of Marianne. Marianne was 63 when she met Tom on a senior dating site. She'd been widowed for 5 years, and her friends were thrilled when she started smiling again. At first, Tom seemed like a gift. Spontaneous, funny, attentive. He brought flowers for no reason, planned weekend getaways, and told her, "I just want to be with you all the time." It felt flattering. until all the time became literal. He didn't like it when she went to Sunday brunch with her friends. He pouted if she spent the evening on the phone with her daughter. He said family drama was bad for her energy, and encouraged her to skip family gatherings. Within months, Marianne's world had shrunk to just Tom. She didn't see the danger until she realized she no longer had anyone to call when she needed advice. She'd stopped nurturing those connections. Why isolation hits harder after 60. When we're younger, there are natural structures that keep us connected. Work, school events, parenting responsibilities. But after 60, those structures often fall away. Friendships require more intentional effort, and family may live far away. If a new relationship discourages, or even subtly interferes with those connections, it can leave you dangerously dependent on one person. Carl Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, but you can't become your fullest self in isolation, because the people who truly love you reflect your best qualities back to you. Without them, your sense of self can fade." The difference between closeness and control. Healthy closeness. He's happy to meet your friends and family. He encourages you to keep your hobbies, volunteer work, and social commitments. He's secure enough not to feel threatened by other relationships in your life. Isolation disguised as love. He criticizes people close to you or downplays their importance. He makes you feel guilty for wanting time apart. He creates an us against the world mindset. How isolation changes you. The longer you live in a relationship that cuts you off from others, the more your perspective narrows. You may stop questioning his behavior because there's no outside voice offering perspective. You may feel less confident making decisions without his input. You may lose the emotional nourishment that comes from being with people who've known you for decades. And without that nourishment, even the strongest woman can start to feel small. Jung and the power of relationship mirrors. Carl Jung often spoke about how we discover ourselves in relationship to others, that the people around us act as mirrors reflecting back parts of our personality. When you lose those mirrors, it's like trying to dress in the dark. You can't see yourself clearly anymore. And it's easy for one person to define your reality. That's why isolation is such a dangerous form of control. It removes the mirrors, so the only reflection you see is the one he gives you, and that reflection may be distorted. Red flags of social isolation. 1. Your social calendar shrinks without you realizing it. You start missing regular events or phone calls you used to love. 2. You hesitate to share news with friends or family. You anticipate his disapproval or criticism, so you simply don't mention it. 3. He frames your loved ones as negative influences. Anyone who disagrees with him gets labeled as toxic or unsupportive. 4. You feel like you need permission to spend time with others. Even if it's subtle, this is a sign of control. Rebuilding connection without conflict. If you notice you've become more isolated, you don't need to confront it with a fight. You can start rebuilding in small ways. Schedule regular calls or visits with friends. Join or rejoin a group activity you used to enjoy. Walking clubs, book clubs, volunteering. Invite him to meet the people who matter to you and see how he responds. A man who truly loves you will be delighted to see you happy and engaged. If he's not, that's your answer. The courage to stay rooted. Being in love can feel intoxicating at any age, but especially after 60, when it may have been years since you've felt that spark. The temptation to make him your everything can be strong, but your roots are in the life you've built, not in a man you've just met. Carl Jung reminded us, the shoe that fits one person pinches another. There is no recipe for living that suits all cases. Your recipe for love must include the friends, family, and passions that nourish you. Without them, you risk building your golden years on a very fragile foundation. One person's approval. Deal breaker number 4. Never accept emotional manipulation or guilt until you make the unconscious conscious. It will direct your life and you will call it fate. Carl Jung. The invisible weight you don't realize you're carrying. Some of the most controlling relationships don't feel like control at first. There are no shouting matches, no slammed doors, no clear demands. Instead, there's a subtle, persistent fog. and that fog is guilt. In senior romance, especially for women over 60, guilt can sneak in wearing the mask of love. It can sound like, "I just miss you so much when you're not here. You're all I have. It hurts when you put other people before me." On the surface, these sound like vulnerability, even devotion. But over time, they create an unspoken rule. Your needs should come second. Why guilt works so well on women over 60. Many women in their 60s have spent decades as caregivers. For children, partners, aging parents. You've been conditioned to prioritize others' needs above your own. That generosity is beautiful, but it can also be exploited by a partner who knows exactly how to pull on your heartstrings. Carl Jung once wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Part of accepting yourself is accepting your needs as valid." Emotional manipulation tries to convince you otherwise that your needs are selfish, inconvenient, or even harmful to the relationship. The story of Linda. Linda, 66, had been single for over a decade when she met George at a local art exhibit. He was attentive, charming, and always seemed to want more time with her. At first, it felt flattering, but soon, anytime Linda wanted to visit her sister or spend a weekend with her grandchildren, George would grow quiet and withdrawn. When she asked what was wrong, he'd say, "It's nothing. I just miss you when you're gone." Linda began to rearrange her schedule to avoid hurting him. Over time, she realized she was seeing less and less of her family. Not because she didn't want to, but because she felt responsible for managing George's moods. That's the power of guilt. It doesn't demand obedience. It makes you choose it over and over, until you can't tell where his needs end and yours begin. The psychology of guilt in relationships. Guilt works because it attacks your self-concept, the image you have of yourself as a good, loving partner. A manipulative person knows this and uses it to create a cycle. 1. Trigger. They express hurt, disappointment, or sadness when you meet your own needs. 2. Self-blame. You internalize their discomfort as your fault. 3. Appeasement. You adjust your behavior to make it up to them. 4. Reinforcement. They reward you with warmth, affection, or approval when you comply. Over time, you learn that peace comes only when you set yourself aside. The difference between vulnerability and manipulation. Healthy vulnerability. A partner can express sadness or need without making it your responsibility to fix it. They can hear no without punishing you emotionally. They recognize that you have other priorities, relationships, and commitments. Emotional manipulation. Your boundaries are met with withdrawal, sulking, or subtle blame. They imply that you're selfish for having needs. You feel like you're walking on eggshells to keep them okay. Jung's insight, making the unconscious conscious. Jung believed that much of our behavior is shaped by unconscious patterns, things we've learned but never questioned. For women over 60, one of those patterns can be the belief that love requires sacrifice at any cost. When you bring that belief into consciousness, when you see it for what it is, you can start to change it. You can start asking, am I giving because I want to, or because I'm afraid not to? Red flags of emotional manipulation. 1. You apologize frequently without knowing why. You find yourself saying sorry for things that aren't your fault just to keep the peace. 2. You feel drained after interactions. Love should leave you feeling supported, not depleted. 3. Your needs shrink over time. You stop asking for space, time alone, or activities you enjoy because it isn't worth the hassle. 4. You question your own perception. They downplay your feelings or tell you you're too sensitive, making you doubt your reality. Breaking the cycle. Escaping emotional manipulation starts with reclaiming your right to your own emotional weather. Steps to take. Name the behavior. Even if it's just to yourself, say, "This is guilt tripping." Naming it breaks its spell. Reaffirm your boundaries. A simple, "I understand you feel that way, but I still need this time," is powerful. Check your motives. Are you doing something out of love or out of fear of their reaction? Rebuild external support. The more voices in your life, the harder it is for one person to distort your perspective. Why peace matters more than pleasing. Carl Jung said, The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength. Emotional manipulation thrives in chaos, in keeping you off balance. True love brings calm. After 60, your love life should add to your peace, not demand you sacrifice it. You've done the years of caretaking, the years of bending over backwards. Now your greatest act of love, for yourself and for any partner worthy of you, is to honor your own emotional well-being. Deal breaker number 5. Never accept disregard for your health and well-being. Take care of yourself first. The soul needs a body to live in. Carl Jung paraphrased, "Why this boundary matters more than ever." After 60, our bodies tell the story of our lives. Every joy, every challenge, every season passed. And yet, in senior romance, too many women find themselves in relationships where their physical health and well-being are ignored, minimized, or even mocked. This isn't just about aches and pains, or the natural slowing down that happens with age. It's about respect. It's about having someone who sees all of you, mind, spirit, and body, and still chooses to stand beside you, patiently, lovingly, without judgment. When love ignores your reality. Imagine Deborah, 72, sharp-witted and vibrant, but living with chronic arthritis. She met a man at her retirement community who seemed kind and interested. At first, things looked promising, but slowly the tone shifted. When she told him she was having a flare-up, he'd sigh and say, "Don't make your health your whole personality." When she needed to cancel plans due to fatigue, he rolled his eyes. And when she forgot her medication once, he made a joke that stung. Deborah tried to keep up with his energy, hiding her pain and discomfort. But one day, pushing herself too hard to match his pace, she fell during a hike. That was her wake-up call. A harsh reminder that love which ignores your physical needs is no love at all. Carl Jung and the body-soul connection. Jung believed the soul needed a body to live in, not the other way around. Your body is not a limitation or a burden. It's your home. It carries your memories, your wisdom, your strength. He once said, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes." Looking inside means seeing your body with kindness, honoring its signals, and setting boundaries that protect its well-being. A man who truly loves you will cherish this, not dismiss it. Why ignoring health is a form of disrespect. When a partner scoffs at your health concerns or insists you just push through, it tells you your experience is less important than their convenience. This kind of disregard can feel like mocking your dietary needs or medication routines, becoming impatient or frustrated when you need to rest, downplaying chronic conditions or the effects of menopause and aging. All these behaviors chip away at your dignity. They send the message that you are only lovable when you perform at a certain level, cheerful, active, and pain-free. Health is a sacred part of your worth. Your physical well-being is not separate from your emotional or spiritual self. When your body struggles, your whole self asks for care and compassion. A partner who respects your health, listens when you say you need to slow down, makes space for your doctor's appointments or therapy, adjusts plans to accommodate your energy levels without complaint, offers gentle support instead of judgment. This kind of love is rare but essential. It transforms relationships into sanctuaries, places where you can fully be yourself, aches and all. The danger of performance love. Too often, women over 60 feel pressured to keep up to maintain a relationship. They hide symptoms, push through pain, and minimize their needs just to avoid disappointment. But love built on performance, how well you can keep up, how fun you are when you're active, isn't love at all. It's a transaction. True love meets you where you are. It doesn't expect you to pretend to be younger or healthier than you are. It says, "I see you. I value you. Your needs matter." Setting boundaries around your health. You deserve to speak openly about your physical needs without fear of judgment. Setting boundaries might look like saying, "I can't do that today because I need to rest." Asking, "Can we choose a quieter activity that doesn't strain me?" Insisting on your right to privacy around health matters. If a man reacts with frustration, impatience, or dismissiveness, take note. That reaction reveals where his priorities lie. Self-care is a radical act of love. Jung said, Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people. By caring for your health, physical, mental, and emotional, you bring your strongest, most authentic self to any relationship. You set a tone of respect that others must follow. At this stage in life, self-care isn't selfish. It's survival. It's reclaiming your right to a body that's honored, not ignored. Real stories, real strength. Many women have shared how embracing their health needs saved their relationships or empowered them to leave ones that didn't. For some, that meant choosing partners who slow down with them. For others, it meant rediscovering joy in being single and whole on their own. One woman shared how she found love with a man who not only respected her arthritis but learned about it, attending appointments, understanding flare-ups, and adapting plans without complaint. That kind of partnership is possible. It's worth waiting for. Your health is a fundamental part of who you are. To be loved fully, you must be allowed to be whole, body, mind, and spirit. If a man sighs when you say you're tired, mocks your medication, or pressures you to ignore pain, he is not seeing you. And you deserve to be seen. Dating after 60 is not about pretending to be younger or stronger than you are. It's about honesty, respect, and tenderness. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Carl Jung. A new chapter, a new kind of love. Women over 60. You are not starting over. You are stepping into a new kind of love story. One written not with the fears or compromises of the past, but with wisdom, strength, and sovereignty. After decades of giving, loving, healing, and sometimes hurting, you deserve a relationship that honors every part of you. Not just your smile or your charm, but your voice, your boundaries, your health, your spirit. This isn't about settling for comfort or companionship out of loneliness. It's about choosing peace, choosing respect, choosing a love that feels like sanctuary. Why sovereignty matters. Sovereignty means standing in your power. It means knowing your worth so clearly that you don't accept less than you deserve. Carl Jung taught us that who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. Awakening to your sovereignty means looking inside, knowing your truth, and refusing to compromise your peace for anyone. This is radical self-love. What true love looks like after 60. True love at this stage of life sees you fully as the woman you are now, with all your history, hopes, and needs. Respects your boundaries. No hidden agendas. No disguised disrespect. No emotional manipulation. Honors your health and well-being, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Invites connection with your friends, family, and community. Never isolation. Supports your independence, financially, socially, and emotionally. This love is quiet but strong. It doesn't shout or demand. It offers steady presence, gentle care, and unwavering respect. The courage to walk away. You've heard it before. If a man doesn't treat you right, walk away. But after 60, walking away is an act of courage and self-respect. You've earned that courage through every trial, every loss, every season of growth. Walking away isn't failure. It's freedom. It's saying, I deserve peace, not pain. Embracing your wisdom. You are a well of wisdom, shaped by decades of experience and reflection. Jung said, wisdom accepts that which cannot be changed, and changes that which can. When it comes to love, this means accepting that some people won't meet your standards. And that's okay. Changing your patterns. Learning to spot red flags early and trusting your intuition. Embracing boundaries not as walls, but as sacred lines protecting your well-being. Your wisdom is your guide. Trust it. Creating a sanctuary of love. Love after 60 should be a sanctuary. A place where you feel safe, seen and celebrated. Not a maze where you lose yourself. Ask yourself, does this relationship add to my life? Does it lift my spirit? Does it honor my past and my present? If the answer is yes, nurture it. If no, have the grace to let it go. Celebrating your journey. Remember, every chapter you've lived has prepared you for this moment. The heartbreaks, the healing, the rediscovery. They are all part of your strength. You are not too old to love, to be loved, or to start fresh. You are perfectly timed. You are a gift to yourself and to anyone who truly sees you. Invitation to continue the journey. If this series has brought you clarity or courage, I invite you to keep nurturing your wise life after 60. Surround yourself with people who uplift you. Listen to your heart and honor your journey. You deserve a love that never costs you your peace. A love that feels like home. Jung reminds us, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. In love, this means acknowledging the past wounds, the fears, the red flags, not to fear them, but to see them clearly so you can choose better. The love you deserve is waiting. It honors your truth and reflects your worth. Thank you for sharing this space. Thank you, woman of wisdom, for walking this journey with me, for listening, reflecting, and honoring your worth. May your heart always find peace, your spirit stay strong, and your love be as vast as your soul.